Okay, my name is Rob Masters. I'm with the World Meteorological Organization, located in Geneva, Switzerland. And I myself come from the United States, where I worked for 25 years with the National Weather Service there. I'll tell you a little bit of the background for AMCOMET. This is the second session that's being held. The first was held back in 2010. It was following the third conference on meteorology and climate that was held at the WMO headquarters in Geneva. And at that conference, it was recognized the importance of meteorology and climate services. And it was felt that there needs to be a conference of ministers to be held at the continental level. The African ministers also recognized this following a meeting at the Regional 1 conference. This was the Region 1 is African continent. We were divided into 6 regions in the WMO. And it was felt that there needed to be a special emphasis on meteorology and climate as it relates to the services that it provides to all sectors of the economy. In the WMO, we're rather unique. The permanent representatives, the representatives of the government, are actually the heads of weather services. And so they come from 189 countries around the world. They represent their countries, talking primarily about technical issues. How do you exchange information? How do you exchange the data that's collected at each of the country levels in such a way that forecasts can be made? Because even in the country I come from, the United States, a forecast can't be made for more than a day without depending on data that comes from other countries. It does not observe the borders. So this means there must be a very high level of international cooperation for us to be able to do our work. I'm very pleased to say that Africa was the very first continent to say we must meet at ministerial level to discuss this. It's the very first continent to say ministers need to come together to address this issue. And while our technical permanent representatives could focus on how the data should be exchanged, in what format, and what frequency, and the kinds of services are provided, they need the political support that can only come from ministerial level. We also noted that to see this happen, a truly African-wide initiative, then the African Union needed to be involved as well. And so we joined hands with the African Union Commission, and that's our co-sponsor here also at this meeting. The first meeting recognized the importance, and a declaration was formed where all the ministers committed to supporting the AMCOMET process. The second meeting now that we're meeting is to follow up on that, where they requested that a strategy be drafted, and so we will be considering the strategy at this meeting. We'll also be looking at the specific constitution, the working regulations for the regular operation of AMCOMET. WMO has been asked to serve as the secretariat, which we've been doing with the support of the African Union. But there needs to be a way of seeing this happen as a truly African institution, something that can continue and be funded, supported for the needs of Africa. So that's the basic history of how AMCOMET came to be. Well, so the question then is how relevant it is, the AMCOMET, to actually other regions. And I think I can say at least in 2 ways. The first way that what AMCOMET is doing is relevant to other regions of the world is AMCOMET and what is being done in Africa to support weather services affects the rest of the world technically. Extremely important data source, Africa. Just for example, in the United States, they call it cyclogenesis. This means the source of the weather that affects the hurricanes that we see in North America and the Caribbean, we can actually begin to monitor in Africa. So what affects the United States comes from Africa, and what affects Africa comes from India. It is a global collective, so if support is given to African meteorological services to provide real services to collect the data, it will affect the models that are global in nature. The better those models will also come back to Africa, and the better information you will have also in Africa to do your job. So it's very much a strong interaction. The second way that AMCOMET is affecting other nations is we believe that by having a ministerial level focus on these issues, other ministers in other regions will also take this on board. They'll begin to see also the importance of working at high-level political support, not only for the MET services that provide the foundational information, but also linking this with those who can provide intermediate services, who can combine the weather data with data coming from other sources to affect agriculture, transport, energy, health, tourism, so many other areas that really depend on this information. But they need to work all together because we all have data sources that need to be put together so that real services relevant to the users will be put in place. What we expect from this conference is an approval of a strategy for all of Africa, behind which the ministers will stand in support of their Met services, in connecting also with the global framework, in establishment of regional centers, in partnership with the African Union, with the WMO, and a number of development partners. This strategy then will lead us to putting together an implementation plan, both at the regional level, but also each individual country will have its part. That's the primary thing I think will come out of this conference. Strong thank you for the people of Zimbabwe and the government for hosting this, but all of the African nations who are supporting this. We think that there's a strong level of vision by this government to be able to see the importance of meteorology and climate, providing specific services to its people. So thank you very much.